Welcome back into the Ball Boys podcast here today with the AFC North preview and predictions. I'll come right out and say it. To me, this is the best division in football. I know some of you AFC East truthers out here. I know some of you NFC Beast truthers out here. The AFC North is where it is at. Today, we're going to break down all four teams in the division and give you our full predictions. If you missed our NFC North preview where we talked Vikings, Lions, Packers, Bears, go check that out on the College Kids Experience channel right now. But today, of course, we do how we always do. We're going to go in the standings of last year to talk about each team. And surprise, surprise, the Cincinnati Bengals won this division last year with Joe Burrow going 12-4 in this division. You got Burrow, Chase, Higgins, Boyd, Mixon. We know the offensive talent that this team has. They are loaded, and they were perhaps one drive away from being back in the Super Bowl. The only team in the AFC that's truly given Kansas City a run for their money over the past 3 to 4 years. We can talk about the offense if you want, and we could praise this team all you want. But to me, the more interesting conversation is the rest of the team. The 17th ranked offensive line. They bring in Orlando Brown. 17th doesn't sound good. But I could argue it's the best offensive line Joe Burrow's had. Nolan, with a good offensive line finally, average, good to average, whatever you want to call it, still all these weapons. How much do you like Joe Burrow to win MVP this year?
I think the biggest question is how good is his calf, and I have no idea. People, Zach Taylor, he's saying all this stuff, but we have no idea how he's going to be week one. And I think that's really a huge factor in kind of predicting all this stuff. I think he does play week one. Hopefully he stays healthy throughout the year. It probably will nag him here and there, but I think Burrow has a decent shot to win MVP too. I mean, we've been talking about Lamar Jackson, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields talk. But, I think Burrow, especially too, because they lost Jesse Bates, lost some pieces on the defense, they're going to have to score a lot more.
Yep.
And because of that, I think his numbers will go up this year. And there's more stats for him and more.
And they're in a loaded division, so, if Lamar stays healthy, Watson, you got good offenses that you're going to have to compete with, too, on a weekly basis. Week one, Browns-Bengals. I mean, I'm excited for that matchup. When you look at the defense, 11th ranked defensive line, obviously, I think their defense may be one of the most underrated groups in football because of how star-studded that offense is. But you have Trey Hendrickson, you have DJ Reader, the fumble in the jungle last year perhaps saved their season. Tyler Huntley was driving and getting ready to lead Baltimore to an upset win in Cincinnati. And who knows how the season plays out at that point, because then Buffalo maybe gets the AFC Championship. Do they have Kansas City's number, or is Kansas City just that good? Probably just Kansas City's that good, but who knows how it would have played out. The 15th ranked secondary, Shadubie Awuzie. This guy was leading the league in interceptions last year before getting hurt. Can he be a true corner one for the Bengals? Time will tell. I mean, I think it was just kind of, I don't want to say luck, but it just so happened to be that way. I didn't view him as a top tier corner in football. I think it was good that he improved for that team, but I don't look at him as top 10 in the league. I don't know if you view that any differently.
I think when it comes to that defense, I think they have a really good shot, to produce. I know that they lost some guys, like I said, but I think because, like I said, they're in the NFC North, they gotta show up.
They gotta show up.
Because if they don't, Burrow, I think especially the first half of the year, I think they got some tough games at the start. And with his injury, they got to really produce for him, or otherwise, it won't be that good of a start for them,
Yeah. Do you think there's a world where we're coming into next season and we're talking about Jamar Chase the same way we're talking about Justin Jefferson right now as the best wide receiver in football? Do you think it could be a revolving door between those two, or do you put Jefferson as a clear peg above Chase?
No, I do. They're very 1A, 1B, I think, for me. I mean, Chase, ever since he got in the league, I remember it was funny because, like you do too, he was like, oh, he's dropping passes in practice before like his career started. I'm like, oh, he could be a bust. They drafted him too high, and then look at him now, bro.
Yeah. I actually the year Chase's rookie year, I got him in the 7th round of my fantasy draft because all those reports came out like 2 days before, and like I even passed on him a couple times, and it got back to me, and I was like, all right, Jamar Chase is my flex. Like, what's the
Uh,
worst that happens here? I bench him, and
a
then
couple
I
crazy,
traded him after
you
3 hot weeks, thinking he wouldn't. I was like,
yeah,
he wants to stay in that.
yeah.
I dropped the ball
You,
there.
yeah, hell,
I dropped the ball there. But 10-7, second place, the Baltimore Ravens. Obviously, an off-season just, I mean, full of drama. You had the Lamar Jackson, Willie won't he be a Raven? I remember we were on the pod, I believe, not convinced that Lamar was going to be in Baltimore this year. Then obviously he gets the extension. He's there. They're bringing OBJ, Bateman healthy, Andrews, draft Zay Flowers, J.K. Dobbins now. This is probably the best offensive group that Lamar has had in his tenure in Baltimore. And this is a guy who already wins games at a 74% clip in the regular season. He gets the job done when he's out there. Now, obviously, it's all health barring, but is Super Bowl in the realm of outcomes for you for Baltimore?
I love Baltimore this year, bro. That offense, Lamar has not had anything close to this type of caliber offense in his whole career, bro. Zay Flowers, I'm not sure if you saw him on Monday Night Football, but he was balling, and I think he's going to do the same thing this year. He reminds me a lot of Antonio Brown, just the way he plays, route running, all that. And to have that guy on your team with Mark Andrews, Rashad Bateman's there. I'm not sure how healthy he is.
I
You
think
got
a lot of
Odell.
people forgot how good Mark Andrews is
Yeah,
because he
yeah,
got
yeah,
injured like a couple weeks before Lamar did last year, so he only had, I believe it was 6 or 7 weeks with Lamar, and they were both healthy. He
yeah.
was on pace, 1,200 yards, 100 plus catches, and like 14 scores. Obviously, it was a hot start to the season. Maybe he wouldn't have gotten there, but we would have looked at him and Kelsey as 1A, 1B if he had kept that pace up. You remember, he had a better year than Kelsey in 2021.
Mhm.
So this Ravens offense can be scary. Plus, they bring in the Georgia OC. Going to be a lot more pass heavy now. It's very exciting to see. And the defense, it's still top tier. Roquan Smith still there. Patrick Queen, I mean, best linebacking duo in football, in my opinion. You have Marlon Humphrey, who may be the most underrated corner in football. The defensive line, still great. John Harbaugh led defense. The Ravens got all the tools to succeed this year. Again, it feels like we say this for a lot of teams, but can their quarterback stay healthy? Because Lamar, he's the difference maker. When you're playing a team like Kansas City, Cincinnati, Buffalo, it doesn't matter. No other team has Lamar Jackson. When
Mhm.
this guy is playing his best football, the dynamicness that he plays with, the dual threat ability, even our Eagles, Jalen Hurts, it's just not even in the same stratosphere as a rusher that Lamar Jackson is when he's good to go. If he's firing at that level and starts making some of those simpler passes more consistently with guys that, who knows what OBJ is, who knows what Zay Flowers is, those guys can give him some rack. Baltimore is going to be a tough team, and Houston Texans fan week one might be turning the game off at halftime against that team. But in third place in the division last year, miraculously keeping his above 500 streak going, Mike Tomlin leads the Pittsburgh Steelers to a 9-8 record. Kenny Pickett's rookie year didn't look great at the start. He figured things out towards the end of the year, looked a little bit better. Najee Harris, takes a step back. I don't know how you feel about Najee. The guy lacks explosiveness, but he'll get some volume on this team. Deontay Johnson somehow goes the entire season without scoring a touchdown. George Pickens has some crazy catches. Pat Fryermuth, Penn State guy. Team's got some bright spots for sure. They're in a real tough division, but I look for this offense to take a step forward. They also bring in Allen Robinson. Kenny Pickett, it's gonna be what can he be, and I don't think Pittsburgh Steeler fans really should go into this season with any expectation other than to keep this above 500 and let's see Kenny Pickett progress.
Hmm.
Because could they be a wild card team? Sure. I mean that's the goal, right? But they're in the best division in football, in my opinion. If they were in the AFC South or the NFC South, especially the NFC South, I'd pick them to win.
Yeah.
But the way that the cookie crumbles, they're in a really really tough spot here. What percentage shot would you give the Steelers to win this division outright? Because you got
Uh,
Burrow with the calf, Lamar's got some injury history, question
I
marks in
would give,
Cleveland.
I would give them a 32% chance.
That's pretty high.
I'm pretty high on the Steelers this year. I think a lot higher than other people. I think the Steelers, Kenny Pickett. I'm not totally sold on him, but he definitely has the tools to really be a good quarterback in this league. I love George Pickens, bro. I have I did not expect what he did last
NFL
year.
young boy.
Yeah. Yeah, I did not expect that last year, and just to see him produce with Pickett this year, Deontay Johnson, Jalen Warren is looking really sharp in preseason. Najee Harris, they're a solid one too, and that defense is really good, bro.
Yeah.
And I think with Mike Tomlin, you can never count them out. And I think just with all those pieces, I think I'd give him a decent shot to really make some noise. I wouldn't pick them per se, but I wouldn't be surprised if they came very close.
Yeah, that defense, in my opinion, they have the best defensive player in football in TJ Watt. The difference that he makes, I don't have the exact number in front of me. I wish I did. But their record with him and without him is crazy for a defensive player. The impact he has on them winning games. This guy is a disruptor. And I'm not exaggerating. If he continues to play at this level and could stay healthy, he might go down as better than his brother. And his brother is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. 3 defensive player of the years for JJ. TJ's not quite there yet, but should have broke the single season sack record, but the script writers had him tie. It is what it is there. Minka Fitzpatrick, an all-pro safety who kind of goes under the radar in terms of being talked about because of how great this defense is. You have Cam Hayward. They bring in Joey Porter Jr., a lot of Penn State talent on this team, so naturally you're just going to root for them to succeed. But Pittsburgh's got the tools. And of course, the team that came in last in this division last year at 7-10, the Cleveland Browns, could be the widest range of outcomes for a football team this season. If they miss the playoffs completely, I wouldn't be shocked. If they won the damn Super Bowl, I wouldn't be shocked. Now, we can't talk about the Browns without talking about the channel we're on, the College Kids channel. They got futures on the Browns to win the division. They got futures on the Browns to win the AFC. And they got futures on the Browns to win the damn Super Bowl. And when you dive into this roster, it's not crazy. Deshaun Watson, the last time he played a full season, we viewed him as a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. Now, it was 3 years ago, but he's still young. Nick Chubb, in my opinion, is the best running back in football. Amari Cooper, I believe, has become underrated as a wide receiver. Elijah Moore, a young talented guy. Donovan Peoples-Jones, David Njoku, the number 2 offensive line per PFF, the number 6 defensive line per PFF with Myles Garrett, who some people do argue is the best defensive player in football, in the number 8 ranked secondary. This team may be the only team, I believe them and Philadelphia are the only team with O-line, D-line, and secondary all ranked in the top 10. Cleveland has a legit roster. Problem is that the Cleveland Browns. And no matter what you do, a couple years ago, we thought the team with Baker, OBJ, Jarvis, Chubb, Hunt, we thought they were going far after that wild card win over Pittsburgh. They came in the next year. They played Kansas City, 4 o'clock, prime time. People thought that was a potential AFC championship preview. And the Browns don't even make the playoffs. I mean, what do you think this Browns team is this year?
It is so hard to predict. Like you said, they have a unit and a half offensively, defensively. And for me, the only thing that I just go back on is what you mentioned. They're still the Cleveland Browns. And I know they have different players. I know they have a different identity.
If they were wearing Patriots jerseys, we would think they were winning the Super Bowl.
I just cannot fully ride on them. Like I have to see it to believe it. You know.
What are your realistic expectations for Deshaun Watson? Because I think realistically he's not going to be as bad as he was last year. But I think it's crazy to say he's going to jump back into the top 5 with Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, Jalen, whether you view it as Herbert, Lamar, Trevor Lawrence. I mean, for him to jump in there, I mean, that's already 8 guys that I listed.
Yeah, I probably would list them between 10 to 14 range, I think.
Yeah, for me, he's hovering around Tua and Dak. That's like about the guy. He's got a higher ceiling than those guys. But coming into the year, that's where I gotta have him. And if he proves me wrong, great. If he proves me wrong, though, the Browns are gonna be dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree with you. The realistic expectations for what Deshaun Watson's gonna be, 3 years away from the game of football, man, it's tough to get back to that level. You don't see a lot of guys do it. Now, saw Michael Vick do it.
Yeah.
So there's always that possibility for another resurgence. Deshaun's was mobile, not as mobile as Vick, obviously, the first half of his career, but Vick in Philly wasn't crazy mobile. Obviously, like, we have good memories, but Deshaun could be that mobile-esque. Nick Chubb, obviously. I saw you made a face. Do you not think he's the best running back in football? I think he's far and away the most talented runner in football.
He is, but I wouldn't take him first overall.
If you were drafting running backs, who are you taking over him?
First running back.
Just for a season.
Jonathan Taylor.
Jonathan Taylor, just for a season. All right, you're just trying to prep Taylor to Philly. I hear you. Why don't you give us your AFC North predictions, 4-1, same way we did the NFC.
All right, so I'm gonna take 4th place. Matt will probably kill me, but I'm gonna take the Cleveland Browns at 4. I think it's because they're in a tough division, bro. They're in a very tough division, and like I said, I'm high on the other teams, and I think just for that reason,
somebody's got to be 4th.
Exactly, and I think if I had to pick one to be them, I have no negatives really. They could get off to a hot start. They have an easier schedule than the other teams, I think, because they were in last place. So maybe that helps them out. But like I said, they're the Browns still, and we'll see what happens. But I would love to see them succeed. I mean, they've been starving for something positive in that city for football. So
yeah.
So 3rd place, I got the Steelers at 3. Like I said, I mean, I'm super high on them this year. I would not be surprised if they made playoffs. I think if they did, it'd be like 7th seed, 6th seed. I don't know if they will. I would have to gather my rankings and stuff, but I think they'll be really good this year. I think 9 to 10 wins is what I'm gearing towards, and like I said, I would not be surprised if they won the division. They got a good defense. Joey Porter Jr. solid. And it depends on Pickett, bro. So Pickett can ball. That's him. 2nd place, I got the Bengals. I think. Look, so I picked the Ravens coming first before Joey Burrow got hurt. And I think even with this injury now, I'm a little more confident. I think because they did lose some pieces on defense, especially Jesse Bates. I think it's a huge loss for them. I think it's going to really affect them that people really aren't talking about. I know they upgraded their offensive line. Offensively, they're dominant offensively, but defensively, I don't know how well I trust that secondary. So for that reason, I'm going to put them at 2nd. So at 1st place, I got my guy. Let me.
The yearbook photo. The yearbook photo.
My guy, bro. And if you don't believe me, go look. You see the name right there. See that?
Lamar Jackson.
So my guy, bro. All right, so Broward County 954. Lamar Jackson is leading the team to the AFC North title. They're winning the division. I think that offense is super stacked. I think that they do it, and they could go on a huge run. I think, especially he got his money. He wants to prove people wrong. and especially with the AFC people who are like, oh, he's terrible in the playoffs. I think he could go on a run, and I wouldn't be surprised if they made the Super Bowl this year.
Wow. Wow. So much love for Lamar and the Ravens. Of course, though, it's your guy. Again, though, so for me, this is the best division in football,
Yeah.
hands down. And for me, it's also one of the closest divisions in football. Actually, for me, it's the closest. I have three playoff teams out of this division. Locked and loaded, three of them are in. Now, the team that's in fourth place, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers. I have them going 9-8. I think that they somehow still get it done over 500. For me, they have the worst quarterback in the division. They have the worst skill group of weapons in the division. And I think the three other teams in this division have good defenses. Not as good as Pittsburgh, but we're in an offensive-minded league. I like Pittsburgh. I like the direction they're going. Like I said, it just sucks that they're in this really, really solid division. But I expect growth out of this team. Now, in third place, I have the Cleveland Browns. I have the Browns at 11-6.
Sheesh, 11 wins.
11 wins in third place. I think that the Browns, it's going to take a little bit of getting used to still because they didn't have a full amount of time together last year. But everything I said, roster-wise on paper, they're the best team in this division. Hands down, if you ask PFF, that's how it works. The O-line has been great. Myles Garrett is great. Denzel Ward is great. They're good at every level defensively. And on offense, the key is what is Deshaun Watson. And for my dollar, at the end of the season, Deshaun Watson will be a top 10 quarterback. No doubt about it. It's going to take him a minute to get there, though. In second place in this division, I have the Baltimore Ravens at a record of 11-6. So very close there. I think that this offense is going to be the best that Lamar has had. I think it's going to be Lamar's best passing season to date. I'm not sure what OBJ has, what he doesn't have, but I don't think it truly matters. Mark Andrews is the solidified number one. Zay Flowers, I think, is going to be a good weapon for this team. Rashad Bateman, if he could stay on that field. And J.K. Dobbins may be one of the most underrated running backs in football when he's healthy. They got to keep him and Lamar out there, but if they do, this offense is going to be stout. And the defense. It's John Harbaugh, Roquan Smith, Marlon Humphrey. I went over it. They're solid. And in first place, I have the Cincinnati Bengals at a record of 11-6. I have the top three teams in this division finishing with the same record. You could flip them around any way you want. I have them all in the playoffs. But at the end of the day, I gave the edge to Joe Burrow and this team that's already what they are in the division. You know, the Browns got some things to figure out. The Ravens got this new offense. We know what the Bengals are. Joe Burrow, Joe Mixon, Chase, Higgins, Boyd. They bring in Irv Smith, who I think is an upgrade over Hayden Hurst. They upgrade the offensive line. It's going to be one of the best offenses in football again. I'm not too worried about the calf injury. Obviously, we're at different points here. From what I can tell, Joe Burrow's already running in practice, looking fine, doing throws on the run. We'll see how it pans out. Obviously, that's not what you want to see for a team that you have winning a division. But Joe Burrow is going to be in MVP conversations. In the defense, Jesse Bates, they lost him. I think safety is the most useless position on the defensive side of the ball. I don't think you need to have good ones anymore. So I respect them not paying the defensive player and getting Joe Burrow some protection. I think it will actually ultimately be better for their team in the long run in these playoff runs. But in the regular season, 11-6. I got them, the Browns, and the Ravens all in the playoffs, though. I told you, I think it's the best division in football. Now,
Backed it up.
we're going to talk about the AFC and NFC East next week. What that means is, if you've been following along, I only have one team in the AFC East making the playoffs. And that's a loaded division, too. I only got one getting in. But you have to subscribe to the channel to see our predictions there. Be sure to leave your thoughts on ours here below. You had to think one of us was right and one of us was wrong. You had to have. So let us know who got more predictions right. If you love sports betting, make sure you follow the College Kids on their Twitter. Make sure you give us a follow to see our sports takes. Subscribe to the channel so you never miss a video. If you like MMA, if you like baseball, you like golf, you like football, basketball, it's all on this channel. Central hub for everything sports. Until next time, though, peace.
Deuces.